We're recording from room 1209 of the Grand Hyatt in beautiful downtown San Francisco.
Games, video 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 games.
It's March 25th, 2009, and the iPhone has changed everything.
And this is the Idle Thumbs Conf Grenade. We are recording from the Grand Hyatt in San Francisco. And I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And we're joined today by Marek Bronstring.
Hello.
A former, well, I guess current still, Idle Thumbs dude. And
sort of,
also designer at Atari.
Yes.
And also Duncan Fyfe.
Hello, I'm from New Zealand. I work for Head Self-Destruct, and I haven't written for Idle Thumbs in 2 years.
Excellent.
Nice.
Welcome.
HeadSelfDestruct.com.
Yeah, so
Duncan actually does have an excellent blog.
Yeah, you should read it on the internet.
Thank you.
You actually should.
We've upgraded from Chris's apartment with its suspect sirens to the posh horns and pedestrians of downtown San Francisco for GDC. So just
These
for
are
you.
much higher class accidents and crimes going on.
Yes.
Sadly, the saxophone man has disappeared.
Also, Bugleman is no longer around, so live music was canceled.
It's true. Yeah, so this was the second day of GDC. We're still not quite in the sort of GDC proper. This has been summits and things
GDC
like that.
Prime begins Wednesday.
Yeah. So, Jake, I guess you didn't go to any GDC, did you?
No, I hate GDC.
Yeah, it's true. But Marek and Duncan were there for
Some of it.
some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, most of it.
Yeah.
Well, I was there all the time, but I obviously have only seen one thing at a time.
And I went to 2 things.
All right.
What? Oh, I need to be closer.
Yeah, Marek needs to be closer in case you're wondering. So, yeah.
Closer to Jake.
As Jake noted in the in our Dateline, the iPhone has changed everything. That was actually the name of Neil Young's keynote address at the Mobile Game Summit on Monday, at which he
burst into tears.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? He basically did. I mean,
What? If you looked, you could see the glisten of a tear.
So, as you all know from Countdown to Tears, Neil Young predicted that at this GDC, well, we took him to mean that at this GDC...
when he said 5 years.
Right.
Yeah,
Again,
and we know what he meant.
We're pretty sure we know. He basically... I think the iPhone does, in fact, bring Neil Young to tears. It was a pretty extreme...
Like just the majesty, the sheer might.
It's really true. He was like, well, you know, cell phone games used to be really uninspiring.
Just
and
bleeps and bloops.
And then this man... and he had a picture of Steve Jobs up on the street, and I swear to God, it was like, this man showed us there was a new way. I mean, it really was
What
like...
the hell?
Yeah, it was a remarkable thing. I actually wasn't sure I was in the right session at first, because I was like, I thought this was supposed to be about a real thing. I thought it was like the previous guy, like the previous session going over it. I'm like, wait a second, this is Neil Young. Weird. Okay.
Were there specific games or things he pointed at as being super amazing on the iPhone?
The ones his company makes.
Well, clearly, yes.
I don't know.
I mean,
He might have a
did he make any
selection bias.
claims about his company's games as fulfilling the awesome promise of the iPhone?
Yeah, he talks
Or
about
tears.
He talks
Or
about
tears.
how they're, you know, the good iPhone games are the ones that can only be done on the iPhone, you know, like Rolando and
Okay.
stuff like that. I don't know, some tower defense thing that I guess is only possible on the iPhone. Well, I suppose.
The iPhone has introduced a new genre, the tower defense game.
Yeah. Well, he sort of, I don't know. It was a weird thing. But he definitely seemed like he had been moved. So I guess the iPhone did change everything, but in a really lame way. These weren't the tears I wanted. These aren't the tears you're looking for.
Send them back.
Yeah.
Did he address at all the sort of issue that's been plaguing iPhone developers recently, that the sort of average price of games is just going down and down and down? Because I heard something about the Rolando 2 and 3 and how they're
he announced Rolando 2 and 3, and they already have release dates for them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Rolando 3, all 3 games will be out by the end of the year.
And they're just hoping that people will keep buying Rolando because they like the previous game, and that's how they make more money.
I imagine, especially with the new in-app app store, Rolando itself will start telling you to buy Rolando 2 and 3, and then people will just one-click and will have them.
Yeah.
So I think it will work scarily and depressingly well.
Yeah, probably do. And in fact, they're going to release free Rolando updates for the existing Rolando game,
which include in-app or app store.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I'm wondering if the levels themselves are free. And then I wonder if, because they're all coming out at a predetermined schedule, and then after the last free level will be Rolando 2, and I wonder if they're just going to sort of present that in as close to the style as possible as all the other free ones. Oh, cool! It's my latest update for my Rolando. Let me just click this. $9.99 deposited. You now own Rolando 2. Like, I wonder if they're going to try to sort of just get you to keep acting on your
they're gonna get
bi-weekly
you on a roll.
Wow.
Hey.
Huh?
Nice.
Huh?
Chris,
Do we have like a cricket
You're
sound?
fired.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. So I don't know. It was a very weird talk. Like he sort of. Oh, and I guess Mark, to answer your question about the just explosion of games on the App Store and so forth. He didn't address the price thing. He did try to spin the ridiculous number of games in a positive way by saying this is actually Apple doing us a huge favor because this is more developers being created all the time, and that's good for the industry.
All right.
That worked for the really well.
I mean,
Yeah, right. WiiWare, a successful implementation, or Wii Retail, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about your boss's expose of the WiiWare system?
Yeah, he talked about it at the thing.
Okay,
It's on the internet.
Okay, fine.
yeah.
Screw you.
So, is there anything you want to say about that?
About iPhones? No.
about
Thanks for asking,
How
though.
about the thing you just brought up?
Yes.
Jeez.
Well, no. Chris, okay. Well, I mean, I don't know as much about the WiiWare pricing system. I mean, Chris?
Yeah, basically the thing that was revealed during a session at the Independent Games Summit was that Wii has a weird thing where if a game doesn't sell enough, I'm going to check to make sure I can actually put this. I'm going to make sure this was actually revealed.
I'm sorry, I've ruined everything.
No, it's fine because it's a good thing to say if it was. The way WiiWare works is if you don't sell enough of if you don't sell enough units of your game in a given territory, and that number differs per territory, you actually just don't get money for your game at all. Like, even for the ones you did sell. So that's actually a fairly frightening thing if you are a developer who sort of expects to sell a low amount and still is able to break even on a low amount, or if you underperform but then don't even recoup any of your investment. So,
and I guess it just sort of reinforces the fact that you have to have a hit, basically, or else there's no long tail.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a little weird. I mean, apparently they're doing it to discourage shovelware, which, I mean, that's a fine thing to try to do, except they're kind of going at it from a weird direction. It's like, instead of trying to actually prevent shovelware, they're allowing it and then sort of just laughing at you afterwards. So, weird.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Jake is already in super tired mode.
No, I'm fine, actually.
Sweet.
So, in other things that we saw today at the GDC, Marek and Chris and I attended the Indie Developers Summit.
Yeah, I like going to the Indie Game Summit because there's some particular kind of energy that comes from that part of the conference. I think they've been doing this for 3 years now, and it's really cool to see that the indie devs are sort of banding together in a really cool way.
Yeah.
The community is pretty strong amongst them. I guess through places like TikSource on the internets, which is where they all hang out, and the Indie Game Summit, you can actually tell because quite a few of the presentations are being shared between developers of completely different games. But they do a presentation
what do you mean
together.
by I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
like
a lecture.
co-presenters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
With slides and everything where they just take turns.
Slides and everything.
No, but
They
I mean,
even use a PowerPoint.
as opposed
they
to
even take a crazy Google image search image and
Shut
put
up.
it on their PowerPoint.
oh, that happened way too
But the
often.
indie ones are way more edgy.
No, but I mean, as opposed to a panel
They get
where
like
they're
stills from
just
David Lynch films.
Yeah, none of that corporate bullshit.
No way.
No
man.
word art.
They use the
light
free
bulb
open
man
office equivalent of PowerPoint.
or Pages.
What, I don't know what that is.
Or Keynote, rather. Pardon.
I don't know what that is
It's
either.
the Apple one.
Oh.
Indie guys hate Macs though, probably.
they are trying to be sort of extreme and indie sometimes, though, like
use Linux.
anti-corporate and
So they break the amp at the end.
what?
They smash the guitar.
They smash all their equipment.
What are
That
you
has
doing?
actually happened once.
What?
No. Like 2 years ago,
surprising anecdote.
at the experimental gameplay sessions, the Harmonix guys were demoing a prototype of Guitar Hero they never used, and then they just smashed their guitar. So there you go.
That's pretty hilarious. I can't decide if that's awesome or weird or. I guess it's pretty awesome.
Declared
The
awesome.
verdict is in. Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry, you were saying before we rudely co-opted you.
I don't know. I just like going to the
guys
Indie Game
stick
Summit.
together.
In
And
conclusion, you just like it.
yes. And they have a lot of shared presentations, and they have more of a sense of humor than other summits, such as the Serious Game Summit or the Virtual Worlds Summit.
The serious game
like-
summit are contractually obliged to be very serious.
Yes. No, but it's true though. If you go to any of the other lectures, you can just hear the laughter and applause and
Sucked
crazy
into a
sounds
void.
coming from the Indie Game Summit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You're just sitting there like you're the kid alone practicing his violin while everyone else is out playing. And it's
That happened to us once at last GDC when Chris, you and I and Steve went to there was some panel about like portrayals of morality in games, and it was opposite alongside the game design challenge.
Right.
And there were just
Yeah.
intermittently loud cheers and laughter coming from the other
It
room,
made us feel sad.
which had Alexei. How do you pronounce that guy's last name?
Pajitnov.
Yeah, he was talking about dolphins.
So he was
playing-
talking about how he was electrocuting dolphins,
Right.
but the voltage was quite low, and everyone was amused by him.
Yeah.
That reminds me
No
of
one
when
will
I-
understand what that means.
Yeah.
What?
That's okay. The guy who created Tetris was talking about electrocuting dolphins. That's all you really
It
need
was
to know.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's
That guy might have also made his own pants.
Yeah, that was the year before when he talked about how he made his own pants.
Yeah.
it
That
was
reminds me
cold,
also
probably.
of when I was in high school and taking French instead of Spanish. And seriously, like the French and Spanish classes were right next to each other.
There's like a mariachi band every day in there.
seriously, like they had like cultural day like every day, which seemed to be just an excuse to like play hilarious, awesome music and like bring in food for a potluck and watch Telemundo and stuff. So that sucked for us.
Sweet.
That was an awesome
An
story. huh?
anecdote from Chris's life.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, nice. Good.
Are you going to tell us about the one time you were on a bus?
The one time I was on a bus.
Oh, that's just... Never mind. That was just one of those random anecdotes you once told.
Wait, really?
Marek
Yes.
made a callback.
Wow.
I don't even know what that story
You don't even
is.
listen to your own podcast, do you?
No.
Well,
oh, you're
but-
making you're referring on our podcast to our podcast?
Yes.
No, I don't,
Whoa.
I don't remember
That's
that
so
story.
meta.
Yeah, it's super meta.
I blew my own mind.
Good job.
We're fans of your podcast, Chris. We have
Thanks.
episode guides.
Cool.
You guys run the wiki?
Yes. Wikia.
Oh, sorry, the Wikia.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, the indie thing, Marek, what you say is true. Also, it is kind of funny about sort of the enthusiasm and so forth, just because I was walking through the hall today, and it does seem like the average attendee of the Indie Game Summit is like 10 years younger or
Yes,
more than what you
definitely.
see elsewhere. Like before the hope and happiness has been beaten out of them by the video
Well,
game industry.
That's true. But although some of them have already reached a stage where the hope has been beaten out of them.
Yeah, that's true.
The final lecture or presentation I saw there today was basically about that, where two guys were basically talking about sort of the dark period during a project where you think everything is shit, you want to sort of give up, publishers are not returning your calls, and it's horrible. And they were very honest and frank about those kind of things.
Which guys were these again?
It's a guy who worked on Aquaria.
Oh, wow.
Alec Holovka? I don't know. Holovka. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And another guy who made Goo. Not World of Goo, but
Oh,
Goo.
Tommy Reffiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
They shared a presentation together, and yeah, it was basically about being sort of depressed while being in development. Yeah.
So we'll close the Indie Game Summit with this panel on depression and the bleak outlook of all of our lives.
It was actually
Enjoy
very
May
funny,
and GDC.
and it was funny and amusing, but there was definitely a serious note to it as well.
When they both hanged themselves at the end of the panel, it was a pretty dramatic way to close that out.
They split their wrists, and time for new developers to step up and
to replace these two guys now that they're dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, GDC is really uplifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes you love games.
There is a weird thing that's, I mean, not to continue this horrible trend, but like
There's a weird thing of suicides in the games industry.
Yeesh. There was a kind of unfortunate, I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Whoa! There goes the
They
siren.
followed us here. This is awesome. Anyway.
Yeah. For whatever, this might change actually starting tomorrow because when the sessions sort of kick into higher gear. Monday and Tuesday are sort of unusual because they're specific to these different summits, but it did yesterday and today. I have sort of had this feeling like maybe I've gone to too many GDCs at this point. Like, I feel like almost everything I heard was either something that I'd already kind of thought about or talked about with people, like more in depth than what the presenters were saying, or I had just heard that same thing said already like 5 years in a row.
So what you're saying is you should be doing GDC at this point.
Well, I do work for the company that makes it.
Nice.
But,
So maybe just who needs presenters? You can just do the whole thing.
I'll just do the whole thing.
Chris Ramos, GDC.
That's a terrible, terrible idea. But yeah,
it's just going to be one big podcast, isn't it?
Fuck yeah! Get ready for a year of idle thumbs.
No, but I agree with you. Actually, this is I think my third or fourth GDC, and I'm sort of feeling like I'm getting diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Because I'm making online games, I go to a lot of online game talks, and they always talk about the same things, about user retention and all these sort of buzzwords. I don't know. It's difficult to get something new out of it after a while.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, it's hard to say something new also, not to, not to just be sort of just down on it completely.
You don't want to alienate sort of people who haven't been to a whole bunch of conferences before as a speaker.
Right.
You want to set it up slowly.
It's true, yeah. You don't want to sort of, so you guys are probably all on your 7th GDC.
Right.
So I'm going to skip straight to, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you'd say in that scenario. But yeah, I guess sort of on that note slightly, we went to, 3 of us anyway, Marek and Duncan and I were all at a talk by Jason Rohrer.
I've done nothing.
Who's the guy who made, most recently put out Between, but he also put out Gravitation. And
Passage.
Something else. Oh yeah, Passage, of course.
That's the one that sort of launched him into use.
For it. Yeah. Which is a cool game. It's definitely worth checking out. Yeah, absolutely. And he released the demo to Between, but I haven't played it yet. It's on Steam, but I couldn't get it. But yeah, he gave a talk that was, I thought, really well intentioned and had some interesting thoughts in it, but I don't know, it didn't fully complete itself. Like, he basically was speaking about he brought up that the Roger Ebert thing, which I'm sure most people who listen have heard or read before. Roger Ebert's declaration that games are not and can't be art because the designer surrenders authorial control to the player by letting the player do something interactive that might diverge from what the designer intends the sort of experience of the game to be.
The horrible bullshit argument.
Yeah, but I mean, Rohrer's thesis was that essentially, or part of it, was that Ebert actually has a good point, and people should, if nothing else, try to think about why he's saying that. And I think he's actually right. Like, I think that is actually an interesting point. Because I think most games that, at least so far, that actually make the player think about something usually do it via the stuff that's pretty much scripted, like the plot, like games that actually make some sort of point or really like convey something that a designer intended you to consider or think about or form your opinion on. Usually that occurs because someone just actually wrote a story for the game and the characters exhibit certain traits and certain things happen in the plot and so forth. And usually the things you get out of the gameplay experience is a less, it's sort of a more ambiguous kind of like, this makes me feel a certain way, which might certainly be very valid artistically in the same sense that a piece of music is or something like that. But I think there is something to be said about the fact that games frequently are narrative works, but the narrative part does not really come through via the gameplay usually. Anyway.
Although he actually made some games that attempted to sort of tell the story with gameplay, I guess.
Yeah, Rohrer has tried that, yeah.
Also Rod Humble, who we saw earlier that day.
Yeah.
With The Marriage and Stars Over Half Moon Bay.
Right. These are sort of abstract games that sort of try to convey something about, like, he tried to sort of portray his marriage as a bunch of blocks and circles that interact in certain ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess if you were to show that to Roger Ebert, which was kind of
His point was he had this thing called the Ebert test. Like, what game would you actually show to Roger Ebert to demonstrate? Yes, games can convey this without having it be spoiled by the player, essentially. And it's an interesting test, sort of, to think about in your mind. I don't know if The Marriage would convince Roger Ebert. Probably not. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think The Marriage is cool, and Rod Humble is also really cool. But that's also so aggressively abstract that it really sort of.
The thing that bothers me about the Roger Ebert example in particular is I feel like his definition of what a game is crap. Like, I think if you showed him The Marriage, he would say that's not a game, that's a piece of modern or postmodern art. And then it's like, well, you're an idiot. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that's
because when games get abstracted to that degree, it ends up just looking like an interactive installation piece in the eyes of most people, I think.
Well, but that's sort of sidestepping the argument and making just an assumption about Ebert. I mean,
I guess. I
mean, you're not really addressing the argument itself. You're just addressing what you think Ebert the man would. I mean, this is more like the Turing test. Like, it's sort of a more generic. Like, how would you conquer this argument?
I guess I'm just frustrated that Ebert ended up being the guy.
Fair enough. But I think Rohrer is right in that Ebert does have some kind of point worth addressing. I mean,
yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't know if I don't know if Ebert needs to be. I don't know if game makers should be constantly be holding themselves up against Ebert. Obviously not. But I mean, I do think that it's probably not correct to just sort of roundly dismiss him out of hand just because he doesn't like a video game. Like, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people, upon reading that, and I might have been one of those people, at least initially, just like, well, this guy obviously is stupid, fuck it, without actually necessarily trying to consider, like, the implications.
Right. Yeah. What I think is, sorry.
I was just saying, Rohrer in his talk, though, wasn't actually positioning The Marriage and Passage as examples that would pass Ebert's test. Instead, he referred to...
Right. That's when... Right, exactly. That's when Rohrer made a weird leap and actually sort of... I thought didn't support his own argument very well, or he didn't really have an argument, but didn't really answer his own question very well, because he decided the way to solve this problem is to determine what games do that movies, film, theater, music, etc. don't do, or which is provide multiplayer experiences, and sort of reverted back to the sort of more traditional definition of a game, which is something that actually relies on a systemic kind of body of rules between two players through which actions emerge directly. So the example he kept going back to is Go, which is a great example for that because it is a game where the action completely emerges systemically as a result of things two players do. Like, very few video games have that level of just sort of direct system rule driven like emergence that just comes out of nothing almost. I mean, that is true, but also he sort of just I don't know, he never really justified why that would actually be a thing that you can use to convey some kind of interesting point that isn't just, interesting patterns and emergence arise from these rules.
Yeah, Go seems like he just sort of drove off a sort of wanky cliff.
Well, part of his talk was based on the premise that games are not culturally legitimate and they are not great art. And one of the criteria that he proposed for great art was that you can go back to it multiple times, perhaps infinite times, and always get something new out of it, which is not true, as he noted, with the gameplay of a game, even like The Passage, which we consider ostensibly art games. But, I mean, once you play that game once or twice, you've experienced all the gameplay you're going to get. But Go, with multiple players and its, system of rules, has infinite variations for strategy, I suppose. And that was a point which didn't make very much sense in the context of his larger argument.
It's weird because he had these little fragments that made sense on their own, but never connected in a way that actually created any kind of argument. It was really bizarre. Like, I think it's true that a game like Go is incredibly interesting in that a selection of extraordinarily simple rules can result in essentially infinite number of things occurring on a board, like just things that emerge out of that. That's true. Also, it's true that you can't replay the passage an infinite number of times and get something new out of it each time. Also, it's true that with a multiplayer game, depending on how it's designed, you can. Like, I mean, sure, all those things are true. I don't understand how you combine them into now this is art. Like
that point was not clear.
Yeah, or why infinite replayability is what defines art. Like, I don't think that's
also
true
he
either.
had the caveat that an actual person who plays the game with you can be exchanged for an AI.
He said it can't, right?
Yeah. Oh no, he said he
could.
Oh,
did it say it can? Oh, that's right. He
said,
did.
Like,
he did
a
say
game.
Right.
The example of Civilization came up
well, then
later.
he admitted he never played Civilization.
That's true, but I mean, Civilization you can play against the computer.
This might be harsh, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't go to that talk.
It's fair enough.
It seems slightly academic in the way that is off-putting to me about academic game discussions, where you create a definition that is maybe not a realistic or reasonable definition, and then hold yourself to it just for the sake of you've defined it earlier. Like, I think that definition of what is art is ridiculous. I mean, it has some merit, but like, well, it's a definition.
Yeah, I think there are actually two problems. One, that he didn't satisfactorily define art at all. Mm-hmm. He sort of waived. One of the things he did, he said, "What makes the?" He sort of pointed
especially coming back to it again and again. Like, there are some things that are ostensibly art that people would declare as art, and they exist with the purpose of being seen once. Right. So, I mean, are those not allowed now?
Yeah, I mean, I think his point that, it's you raise obviously a good point. He was saying you could theoretically keep coming back to a great film, a great book, a great whatever, and get something new out of it each time, which might be true, but might also not be. Also, he, I don't know. It was a weird talk. It sort of frustrates me because, one, I think he's a really interesting game designer. Yes. I think he makes really interesting games. 2, I think this is a topic worth thinking about. 3, I think he had some interesting things to say about it, but unfortunately, it just seemed like a weird grab bag of things I had in my head that actually don't connect.
One of the sort of basic conclusions that he had was more like, wouldn't it be cool if more indie games were multiplayer?
Right.
That was kind of the
conclusion.
That sort of stuff is frustrating to me because one of the things that I like about games as a medium is that they're ridiculously not limited in those regards. Like, a piece of performance art obviously has the restrictions of it takes place in real time, probably on a stage or like outside. It exists only that one time in real time, or like a painting is painted. But games can include all of these different things. So just saying, well, it's obviously only this one part, then you're cutting out events that could take place only once in a sort of online environment or
like an ARG or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, why make a definition that deliberately slices a huge chunk of the potential out of the medium?
Right. Well, I think his problem was he was using the literal, like, sort of the traditional definition of game. Like, he was sort of going back to, well, a game is something that people do, like, essentially 2 or more people do. It's based on a system of rules. Things emerge out of those rules. I mean, that's true, but also in the last 40 years, game has expanded to mean things that are not technically games.
Well, right. I mean, if you're just talking about like chess Go and freeze tag,
right. But he also referred to things like Settlers of Catan and so forth, which are in fact actual games in the way that a video game is not. But I think the thing he forgot to consider is that we use the term video game in a fairly loose way that we don't require to mean technically a game. Like, I mean, BioShock is only extremely loosely a game, but nobody cares because we don't play it because it's a game. We play it because it's a fun, interactive experience. Right. And I think he forgot to separate the specific word game from the general term video game as it's used by people who actually play video games. So I think he sort of made a mistake there that permeated throughout his whole argument and made it weird.
Yeah. Also, this is sort of a separate point entirely, but whenever there's...
This is the serious cast. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
We are not smiling. We're laughing.
More jokes. Come on.
Jake just laughed.
No. And then I did a forced laugh afterwards.
Nice. What was I going to say? Oh, right. Whenever there's a discussion about games becoming some kind of greater art form or, achieving more recognition, what saddens me is that the other side of that, there's 2 things that need to happen for that. The games need to be a certain way, or the developers need to aspire to certain things, but also the audience need to recognize when there's a game that actually does you know,
It's the sad nerd syndrome. Finally, they'll see what I really am.
no,
I mean,
what you mean? A lot of people don't recognize. For instance, okay, I tried to show the passage to other people. The passage actually, it affected me emotionally on some level. It was it was a nice little
Sure.
But when I showed it to other people who perhaps were not as game literate as I was, they didn't really get it. They couldn't really translate that pure gameplay into something that meant something to them. So it is both a sort of cultural thing that needs to happen and a creative thing that
I'm of mixed mind on that, because I think what you say is true. Certainly, like games do, and especially a game like The Passage, which is a very sort of like big pixel art, very it's definitely something that sort of clearly is intended probably to work better on someone who's familiar with video games. But on the other hand, you wouldn't. God, this is a stupid example to use, but I think it's a fairly good one, even though everyone brings it up every 2 fucking seconds. Citizen Kane is a movie. I know.
nice. Citizen Kane
myself.
Invoked.
It's just. I think it's a really good example of something where, like, the first time. Well, at least for me, the first time I saw that movie was when I was fairly young, and I didn't really get anything out of it much at all. I didn't really I didn't have the framework. I hadn't seen enough.
Don't you need
films
sort of to understand what flashbacks are and how certain mechanisms of movies
and things like when you sort of just as you see more films, you start just picking up on cinematic techniques that you're used. You start to recognize when they're used in cooler, more creative ways. I mean, when I saw Citizen Kane later as someone who had seen a fucking way more films, was much more interested in films, actively sought out interesting films. Yeah. That movie fucking blew me away. Like, it was like I'd never even seen it before.
IGN.com.
IGN.com. Yeah, exactly. And I went and watched a whole bunch more Orson Welles stuff after that because I was so fucking excited. Like, and so I can't. It's hard for me to form a firm opinion on that because I think but then there are other great films that don't require that. You know what I mean? And necessarily, and they're still great.
Like Con Air.
The Rock. Yeah. And so I don't know.
The hairdryer in our hotel is labeled Con Air.
What? Yeah, that's a common hairdryer thing in the United States.
Hot scoops.
Yeah.
Not that hot.
Old, smelly scoops.
Shitty scoops.
Cold, wet scoops.
I saw in a store today the DVD of Citizen Kane, and I realized that the game industry has ruined Citizen Kane for me now.
That's always
you were just playing so much Killzone 2 at this point that Citizen Kane, it pales in comparison.
Luster, yeah.
I mean, I always associate it with a horrible analogy that exists in the games industry.
No, you're right. And I hate myself for bringing it up. Yeah. I could have brought up, I don't know, fucking Metropolis or something. Something that's really dated.
Bring up the Godfather.
The reason I brought it up is because it's black and white, and a lot of people have like a weird thing about watching black and white movies, and just because I don't really know, it's some like weird arbitrary thing that they don't want to watch. It also has somewhat, in some cases, some of the characters use sort of an older acting style, more derived from theater, that is a little more affected, and it's just sort of one of those movies that I think is undeniably great, but also it requires you to kind of take it for what it is because of it is somewhat dated in some respects. That's kind of why I brought it up. But there are a lot of other films, obviously. Is
there ever going to be a Citizen Kane game? Are they going to license Citizen Kane? I'm wondering this because maybe that will be the Citizen Kane of gaming.
Oh man, have we talked about Molyneux' fucking thing yet? His latest thing on the podcast.
I don't know. I'm not on this podcast.
I really do want the Citizen Kane of gaming to be Citizen Kane.
The game? Yeah. The video game? Yeah.
Finally, the Citizen Kane of gaming.
And it's
Kane, the video game.
It's actually an FPS where you, I don't know, where you go down a hill on a sled or something like that. I don't know.
Rosebud. EA Biggs, Citizen Kane.
Oh my god, that would be incredible. SSX Kane. Yeah,
I'd play that. I'd probably really like it.
I know, it'd be hilarious.
Soundtrack by Mixmaster Mike.
you get to Rosebud is like throughout. You get to upgrade it throughout the game and like buy a new bling for it. Look at it, like rotate it around.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You get the solid gold sled if you master all characters.
Yeah,
I'd play that.
But there's the other comparison that. And I hope we didn't already bring this up, so we're not repeating it on like last week's show. But Peter Molyneux recently declared as an amazing fucking now that the the Countdown to Tears is over.
It's a little different.
A little slightly different. Now that the Countdown to Tears has, I guess, ended with the iPhone, we can now move on to this next amazing fucking deadline. Peter Molyneux declares that a game will reach Godfather level of storytelling in 2016.
Sweet.
So on the PlayStation 4 is what he's saying. By dropping 2016, he's implying that
oh, that's right. That's
because
the year after
the PlayStation 3 is done in 2015.
It's going to be a sweet 2 years.
So, like, what? I mean...
Yeah, it's true. We'll get all those great PlayStation 3 games, and then they'll all be trumped by this game that's better than The Godfather. So,
well, or equal to The Godfather.
Oh, right, equal.
But it won't be on the PlayStation 3.
The funny thing about this...
That's true, because, they'll squeeze the last little bit out of that one.
But the funny thing about this quote to me is that, well, I guess they're starting in 2015, so maybe... Yeah. I mean, Godfather could still exist on PS3. Remember? I mean... Remember, like in 2015 is when they attain that capability.
Oh, so this will. Oh, right. So this
doesn't mean they have to stop.
This will be like the second generation of games that maximize the PlayStation 3's processing power.
Exactly.
Fuck, this is going to be an amazing game.
Yeah.
We got to stop talking about the PlayStation 3 bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
But the thing that amazes me about the Molyneux quote is that with the Neil Young quote, fucking 5 years ago when we first thought that was hilarious, we sort of had to put in the 2009 for him. You know, he said in 5 years. We had to go, okay, he might mean within 5 years or, in fact, 5 years from now. Peter Molyneux, no. He went right out and said it, 2016. That's the specific year. And the thing
it's the year 2016.
Yeah. And it's not even like 5 years or 10 years. It's not even a round sort of just estimate type number. No, it's just 7 years from now, specifically.
It might have come from an S. It might have been pulled. Yeah.
A Molyneux.
A Molyneux.
It might have come from a
Molyneux. Sorry, that might be a game with an apostrophe.
Like Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter?
Like Russian Attack.
Or that, okay.
or Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter.
Sweet.
Maybe. He had a cowboy hat, then he didn't.
It's true. Okay. Oh man, I wonder if the Godfather game could be Fable 6.
Because,
I mean, he has basically announced Fables 3 through 6. Right?
I thought he announced 2 through 5.
Well, 2's already out.
Oh, so he just bumped up one more?
3 was secretly
announced.
Oh,
you're right.
I think
it was 2 through 5.
Through tweeters?
Yeah. Twats. Yeah. That's the passive...
explicit.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, we've earned our explicit tag on iTunes.
Oh, nice.
Well, we have one every week, so it's okay.
Twats. Oh, cool.
Balls. Poop. Nah. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we can start a new countdown now.
Yeah.
2016. I mean, I guess...
Countdown to The Godfather.
Yeah. He said it in the last few
Equal or better.
days, so I guess
that's the subtitle.
Yeah, exactly. we could just say GDC 2016. Again, I mean...
Yeah. That's where he reveals things.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think he actually...
That sounds weird.
That's where Molyneux reveals things.
You
don't want to go to that session.
Yeah,
you don't want to go to that fucking keynote. It's
gross.
You don't want to see his PowerPoint slides.
I've discovered that I can sit on the scanner.
He would sort of
excitedly
speak about that in hushed, excited tones. Now, what you have to understand is that I've never done this before. But if you lift up the door, you can sit on it. Oh Lord!
What?
I don't know. You might say that. There might be a dog involved that will teach you how to love.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you wanted to tell Marek and I about something called OnLive.
Oh yeah, OnLive.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. This is there have been a fucking ton of forum threads and news articles about this because it's weird.
Oh, is this that future thing?
This is the future.
Don't spoil it.
Oh, spoiler! It's the future.
Oh.
This says marketing VP or maybe excited journalist.
Yeah. Yes, basically, this company has been developing a technology secretly for 7 years which is, so they've been developing
in secret for 7 years.
Exactly.
The top minds of something.
Of these dudes.
In
the Silicon Valley.
In the Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Thanks. 5. So they've been making this thing that basically it allows you to play PC games that are entirely processed with cloud computing. So basically, they have servers that are really powerful gaming PCs, presumably with multiple video cards and just as fucking crazy as they can make them, that play the game, that render all the game.
They play the game for you.
It's a machine robot. You input with the controls on your computer. That's I think you know what I mean.
You type in the commands you wish the game to do.
Oh man, that reminds me. I think there's a DS game that's coming out that's like text-based or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I got a press release about some like text adventure on the DS, which is weird. But anyway, I don't actually know, so I don't want to talk about it because I might be wrong.
Can you still blow into the microphone or something like that?
Left. Left.
Right.
Left.
More men.
This is an in-joke.
Yeah. Bronstring, Marek Bronstring. Okay, so the this crazy thing basically allows you to play crazy PC games like with their graphics turned all the way up without actually even having a GPU in your computer.
Streams
It
mysterious,
the video
like
frames.
creepily legless video to you.
Right, and you can do it on TV or a PC. You can do it on a TV with a little, just small little dongle that you.
You just said small little dongle.
I did. They described it as a micro console, but I prefer to call it a dongle. I believe that's the proper term.
Technical term, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Industry dongle.
Yeah, Idle Thumbs might be an industry dongle. So it basically.
Anyway, please actually speak.
Sorry. So basically the thing is, it allows you to play the PC games without having any hardware, any gaming hardware, without having to upgrade
like the
anything.
idea is you could play through Crysis turned all the way up on a netbook because it's just streaming the video to you.
Right, exactly. And it just compresses it. Apparently they've gotten the video compression latency down to 1 millisecond. So the only latency involved is the actual network latency, which they've also been trying to improve fairly impressively, actually, by communicating directly with actual internet providers and literally working with them to actually having engineers on the project to find like inefficiencies in their system that are leading to things like packet loss and other things that affect latency over a network. And so they're actually trying to literally get to the root of the problem, like as much as they can, which is interesting because that actually benefits everybody, even people who don't even use their service, which is cool. You also have to be within 1,000 miles of one of their centers, so they're going to be installing. I mean, I think they only have 2 so far, but this thing isn't going up until winter, so they have, I don't know.
So let me get this straight. A game is being played on a server.
Yes.
Basically, okay, that's going to be expensive because because processing power on a server, that is something you have to pay for. How, I don't know. If you're gonna,
you in fact pay them money to use their service.
It's a subscription.
It's not a free service.
Okay, I get that, but scaling that up is going to be a challenge. Like having 1,000 billion trillion, I don't know, just a lot of FPS being played on a server at the same time.
One would hope that the first thing they figured out was how to make this financially scalable.
Yes.
Also, it seems like this. Oh, actually, I have no idea how that would scale. I was going to say it seems like it would get cheaper the more people you have, but like if you have 5 people, it's going to require the number of PCs that it requires using their infrastructure to play 5 games. And if you have 2 million people, it's not like you don't need less processing power for that.
No, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would assume they thought of that.
Oh, shit! People are using this!
Yeah, I mean, not just to give them the benefit of the doubt and everything, but I mean, in 7 years, presumably that was probably the second thing they thought of after network speed.
I'm just thinking of like Web 2.0 sort of things that, for instance, deal with video editing, which takes a lot of processing power, and they're just like, I think one of them was taken over by Yahoo, and they just stopped because it was just like, these servers are dying completely. So it seems like an epic thing to. It could work. I mean, I mean, that's the kind of stuff they probably spent frightening amounts of money trying to figure out and solve.
I just sort of enjoy that the technology exists for this to work at all. Even if it scales to the point that it falls apart and explodes. That means that in maybe, by 2016 or so, we'll be able to just be, experiencing this straight in our eyeball.
I did, in fact, play. I did this last week. I had a pre-briefing before it was announced.
A pre-briefing.
I briefing before the announcement. Prior to the announcement. A proofing. I proofread their press release. I did not do that. I did, in fact, play Crysis on a tiny, 8-inch netbook. It was really fucking weird. It was really, really weird to have that experience.
Did you beat it?
I beat the whole thing in their office.
Yeah. Cool.
In fact, this actually makes you awesome at games in addition. That was a weird technology.
It's got like a power glove built in?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Nice.
It's weird. I played that in Grid also and Burnout Paradise, I think. It's a surprising thing. It is weird that it actually works.
And that was officially unveiled today at the show, right?
Yeah, it was actually technically announced accidentally yesterday because Variety broke the embargo, but they, I think,
because
showed
they're
it
cool.
because they're rad. But yeah,
Movie
today they
industry.
showed it. We didn't go because we were here setting up this room to podcast, but I already saw it. So whatever.
Nick Brecken was there live at the scene.
Oh, that's
so
right. He can report on
if
it
any
tomorrow
comedic
if he
or
comes
interesting
back.
things happened. If he ever shows up again.
Yeah. So yes, it's a weird fucking thing. They what they want to do eventually is actually bypass. I mean, right now it just goes through your ISP. It just goes straight through your web, your fucking internet superhighway. But what they're hoping to do eventually, they told me this actually. They're going to attempt to communicate directly with cable providers
With
and
your
actually
brain.
just go what?
Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I said with your brain.
Oh, that's true.
Thanks. Confirmed.
Yeah. No, what they want to do is actually just partner directly with cable companies and just go straight into your home through that. Don't go through your router like it does now, but just go straight through your actual cable connection right into your TV or whatever.
They want fuck the internet. We want to use cable broadcasting. No, I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the weird
Your
implication of
FM
that
radio
is that you could actually, if this company
I mean, I'm
was
sure the hope is
purchased
that
by DirecTV,
right,
or
it would just
something.
work with a set-top box or whatever.
Right. I mean, the idea is you could theoretically, like, at someday turn to the game channel on DirecTV and just fucking play Crisis on
instead
it.
of ordering whatever fucking baby mama off of off of like
Instead of ordering a baby mama?
well, like off of
Is that what
Comcast
you
On
do?
Demand instead of watching that you'd end up loading up the Crisis.
Right.
The
In
Crises.
theory, in sort of dreamland, this would actually be really cool because you would have one configuration which could still be upgraded for everyone. You know what I mean? Because with consoles, you're fixed to one console generation every time.
Well, yeah, if it's just streaming video
right.
from a
Yeah,
source, then
exactly.
they would be the ones who upgrade it and just
Yeah,
charge you
right.
more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
An agreement.
it's just sort of standard DirectX stuff that developers are already used to. So, yeah, all they really have to do is specify the target spec of the computer.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is real and not,
I know, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't break as soon as more than 2 people start using it at the same time.
Yeah.
or
Also,
and
you need-
has
yeah.
games, actually works for a regular consumer,
Right.
stays in business.
I should mention also you need, if you actually want to do it in HD, this is actually a pretty big catch. If you want to do it in HD, you need a 5 megabit connection, which I think only 25% of American homes currently have.
I think a lot of places can't even get access to that. Like my house is in a place that's too shitty to
Yeah.
to even
So
get
so
that
that'll
speed.
so that'll be probably a limiting thing. I think I asked them what they think the trends are for that. Like what they think. They didn't.
I'm
really,
sure they think it's amazing.
Yeah, well, they didn't really give me an answer actually, so I don't really know. they probably know it's going to take longer than they.
They
hope
actually
it would.
dropped a smoke bomb, and then when it cleared, they weren't in the room
Right.
anymore. It was
yeah,
weird.
exactly. Yeah, they dropped a conf grenade.
Speaking of the future of PC gaming, in Moscone North, they have Microsoft has a booth with a couple of terminals that show off some 360 and GFW games.
Yeah.
Things like Halo Wars and Dawn of War 2, and one of the ones that was running GFW, Dawn of War 2, had crashed.
Nice. Yeah, good times. Sweet.
Speaking of the future of games,
Oh man, that actually reminds me. Also, I talked to the Games for Windows Live guys today, and they did tell me they're actually working on removing the 100 friends limit.
hey,
Whoa.
Which makes me incredibly happy. So I hope they actually do
Those
that.
of you who have a lot
Some
of
people think that is that was deliberate, not for technical reasons, but simply because if you go beyond 100 people, it becomes insane to manage, and there's a whole theory about it and stuff.
Well, that might have been.
Hello.
I mean, I think that might very well have been the original reason. But but the thing is, it's a legacy holdover from Xbox One. When they made that decision for whatever reason, be it for technical reasons or deliberately, it doesn't really matter why the original reason was. But the thing is, now I think they realized that was a bad decision, but they couldn't change it because games, particularly with backwards compatibility, there was no way for them to change that. Because if you loaded up an Xbox One game to play online,
Fair enough.
and the developer hadn't coded in support for more than 100 friends, it would.
So is it now unlimited, or
well,
do
now
they
it's
have
not,
set
no,
a
it's
new
not
limit?
anything yet. It's still just 100. But I mean, they're saying they're going to.
Oh,
fix
okay,
that
they're going to.
problem
Okay.
somehow. Yeah, I don't know how exactly, but they
Cool.
They claim to be fixing it.
I've got like 30 friends, so I don't care.
No, yeah. I have 2.
You have 2?
I have no friends.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get out.
Sweet.
Maybe we should stop for a minute.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's take a break.
Break.
Video games.
So we're back, and we have replaced Marek Bronstring with our buddy Lawrence
Hello.
from Beatnik Games. He's a programmer,
That's right.
quite adept at Carmack's reverse. Lawrence Bishop, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bishop Lawrence Bishop. I forgot.
I don't think I have that full title, but
That's
yeah, I'm not a
You've
bishop.
earned it today.
Thank you.
Just by being here.
Good.
Tell us about Carmack's
you want to learn
reverse.
about
Well, I
Carmack's
just thought
reverse.
I was
Okay,
talking
I
to
can go
Lawrence the
into
other
that.
day, and somehow it came up that there's an actual programming technique called Carmack's reverse.
This is like the crazy Ivan of the programming world.
Yeah, pretty
It
much.
sounded to me like a crazy chess thing. Like, you know what I mean? All those
Right.
openings and like counters that have.
Oh, he's opening with Carmack's reverse.
Right, exactly. In the programming semifinals.
Well, basically, it's just it's a shadowing technique. When you do volume shadowing, you have like shapes extend volumes from the light to the surfaces that are casting on, and you count how many times you go in and out to see whether a pixel is lit or not.
Like you do.
Like you do. But if you're inside the shadow, then the counts are incorrect, and so everything that's light is dark and everything that's dark is light. And Carmack came up with a technique to solve this, and it's been coined as Carmack's reverse. Is
Well done.
very pleasing, because Carmack is a crazy intelligent guy that drives all of graphics.
That's a hard drive.
Yep,
It's a
very
tough
much
drive.
so, yeah.
I haven't made that drive before. I enjoyed that. Also, in completely unrelated news,
Get ready for this.
I wanted to just inform people in case they weren't aware that so I'm sure you're probably familiar with Goldfish, the baked snacked crackers.
Unless you're
shaped like
from
fish.
out of the US.
Unless,
like
do they not have those in New
No,
Zealand?
they don't.
Do they have those in the UK?
Have what, sorry?
Goldfish.
No.
Wow. Well, you guys
all
miss
Americans
out.
and probably Canadians
Right.
are familiar with
no
the
Pepperidge
Goldfish.
Farm Goldfish, the baked snacked crackers. Well, apparently, they have named a goldfish, and his name is Xtreme, with no E. Well, with no leading E. The name of this goldfish is Xtreme,
Registered symbol.
with a registered symbol. So all of you game marketers, you can't fucking say that anymore. It's a registered trademark. No more Xtreme.
Pepperidge Farm owns your fucking ass.
Yeah,
Assuming
true.
your fucking ass is extreme with an X
Yeah,
Yes.
and no leading E.
yeah. So I just wanted to make that known because
Yeah, I mean, we found
this
that
took me
out
by surprise.
because the back of the box, half the goldfish in this bag that we've bought for the podcast are basketballs, and it's because the back of the goldfish container features the Goldfish games starring Dwayne Wade, Xtreme, and you. And we didn't understand why Xtreme was starring until we realized that there's a picture of a goldfish with Xtreme registered symbol underneath him.
When you said that, I imagined Xtreme being the 80s hair metal band that did the song at the end of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
They're also in this bag
They
of
might also
goldfish.
be in this goldfish.
It's there's
You
goldfish.
can't really tell
They
by
might
the
also
shape,
be
but-
in this goldfish. Yeah, if you dig deep enough, there's a bunch of flying V guitars down at the bottom of the bag as well. It's,
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
yeah, it's cool.
So, buy that if you want.
So that's and that's it for today. Thank you.
Idle thumbs.
Out. Lawrence and I, speaking of Jason Rohrer, who we spoke about before the break.
Was this the Rohrer story?
It is the Rohrer story, the fabled Rohrer story.
Nice, Jake.
Thanks, Jake. After Rohrer spoke at GDC...
His name is hard to say.
Rohrer?
Yeah.
You sound like a retarded lion.
What?
A retarded lion.
Okay.
Scooby-Doo is actually talking about a weird indie bedroom programmer whenever he says anything.
I don't think he works out of his bedroom.
Oh, well, a dude.
It's a capital B with a registered symbol.
Okay. All right. Anyway, after Rohrer spoke. Anyway, a story. Lawrence, you tell the story.
Okay. What, you're being mocked mercilessly, I'll take over.
What did we see on the streets of San Francisco, Lawrence?
As we were making our way to meet Marek out of a rather fancy hotel, but perhaps a Hyatt.
Oh, it was the Marriott, I believe.
The Marriott, okay. Came Jason Rohrer with someone else. And he was making his way
Was
into
it Jay Allard?
No, someone miscellaneous.
If I would have guessed that, it would have been incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I have no idea who it was.
Okay. Was it like a prostitute? You said it. You said it in a very like suggestive way.
Someone miscellaneous.
Let's just say it was like a prostitute.
The potential prostitute
Was
had
she a prostitute?
She was male.
and he,
Oh, whoa!
and he had a GDC
it
lanyard.
Was a very kinky situation. What?
he had a GDC ID, so possibly a prostitute.
Okay.
Okay, so this GDC prostitute guy was with Jason Rohrer, and they came out of the hotel and went into a limo that was parked outside, and they were chased by like 4 people with like massive cameras and boom mics. It was really bizarre. This huge celebrity moment for Jason Rohrer, who lives
that's
in
amazing.
a cabin somewhere or something.
Yeah,
Shed or something.
all the developers that you could possibly imagine starring in
guy
that anecdote.
developed-
Was that real? I mean, was that all staged for some
I
video
don't-
that's going to appear on TigSource and embarrass us?
I don't know.
A TV channel called like Art TV. Was that what it was?
It's art.
You know, art, TV.
ART. I mean,
No, it had
don't
an
know.
E at the end.
Oh, ARTE.
Yeah, the
I
E is
understand.
silent.
It was WART.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to tell if it was planned or, it was the gaming paparazzi.
Little known fact, the San Francisco Bay Area is the one region in the world that has a paparazzi that follows game designers.
Yes, so we witnessed.
I hope that they were trying to follow up on details of a salacious tryst with the male prostitute.
Yeah, almost certainly.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah, so that's
That's a
our
good
story.
story. I enjoy that.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Especially your augmented, imagined version, which is
Yeah,
way
exactly.
creepier than what really happened, I think.
Yeah, that was the best part. Once you introduced the horror angle, it really took off.
The horror story.
The horror angle.
Roar horror.
It's the Rohrer's horror story.
The horror horror.
That's a good story. Yeah.
It's like Hogan's Heroes. It's Rohrer's horrors.
It's exactly like that.
I'm pretty sure it's the same source material.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that being said,
Games.
video games. Anything cool that you saw at GDC, Lawrence?
At the
Right.
Lawrence, by the way, is another Thumb alum. That rhymes.
Yeah, I wrote 2 articles. Yeah, I didn't actually get to do any GDC today because I'm a giant failure.
Oh man,
I
that's
left
too
my
bad.
pass in my room when I went to the first talk, and then when I got back to when I got my pass, the talk had obviously already started, and so I just did some work.
Awesome.
So,
What?
yeah, that's lame.
So you were developing video games at
That's
the Game
right.
Developers Conference. So you attended in spirit.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, whenever anyone's working on a game, they're attending the Game Developers Conference.
Yep,
So I attend the Game Developers Conference every day of
I mean,
my
you
life.
could-
Your
Consider-
life must be awesome.
You could consider a development studio a game developers conference.
Yeah, there's some
Game
convening.
developers are conferring and
Conferring.
convening. Yeah.
Sorry.
We do confer quite a lot, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
so you were there.
Yeah.
How about Monday? Anything interesting?
You didn't go there.
On Monday, I did tourist
right.
things with Alex and Sean.
Right.
So.
Anything cool there? Any awesome?
Golden Gate Park was very nice.
Excellent.
Anyway, you didn't make it to GDC today, but you will on Wednesday.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to, Lawrence Bishop?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Things I'm looking forward to. Keita Takahashi, just because he's crazy and
Right.
awesome. And his description of his thing says, "Come if you enjoy listening."
This session is intended for anyone who cares to listen.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The intended takeaway is a refreshing change of pace. That is, in fact, the
It's
entirety of the abstract.
so
for his
mysterious.
speech. I'm pleased.
If
It will
you
be
wish
good.
to see a man draw a sort of sedate square face over the top of his PowerPoint slide while
Right.
speaking,
Yeah.
this is the panel for you.
Yeah. That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
He made an incomprehensible game. I enjoy that against fucking all possible odds, Noby Noby Boy is 1,000 times weirder than Katamari.
It's incredible.
It takes a special kind of person
It
to make
basically
that
ended up
happen.
blowing minds to the point that maybe they were too blown to actually purchase the game. But, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, they got to the moon pretty quickly.
That's true.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
But I don't think people
Almost,
have reached Mars. I'll
a
be
third
sad.
of the time that they expected it to.
They've got to go farther and farther out as the audience drop-off increases.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
So,
Well, it'll just be a years-long project, maybe. I mean, do you guys ever know? that-
maybe Molyneux is talking about when they get to Pluto and discover that it's not actually a planet after all, and then they have an emotional response up to the degree of The Godfather.
In 7
Apparently,
years.
they're going to
it's-
be adding lots of DLC. He's got lots of things
Weird.
in the works.
like other
monthly
smaller
almost.
asteroids that are closer to.
No, I mean like actual more functionality for the game.
That'd be cool if you could purchase DLC that applied to everyone's game in the world. That's the only guy I could consider ever adding that to his game. Where it's like for $500 you purchase, fucking Alpha Centauri. I mean, that'd be far away, but like, then
everyone contributes to the purchase.
No, if just one
guy.
benevolent investor in Noby Noby Boy is willing to
sink $500.
Well, I'm not proposing this as a business plan this moment. I'm just making up a figure that could be paid.
That would be an extreme type of DLC.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Of you just sort of invest in public works within the world of Noby Noby Boy.
If you charged $50 for those DLC, certainly people would buy them just to be cool on the internet.
Within minutes, a dude would have purchased
I'm the guy who bought Alpha Centauri.
Someone would want to say that, regardless of how much nobody would care, maybe. A dude would want to be able to claim that. You know he would.
I do.
That'd be the internet. But I would still think that's cool. So, fictional dude who spends $500 on Noby Noby Boy?
Single screen shared co-op is coming to that game.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So you just both get a Noby Noby Boy?
Yeah.
You actually get two separate ones.
As far as I know.
was wondering if you controlled each of the heads.
Yeah, because you could do that in Katamari 2.
Yeah, you each controlled both.
I would. Two would be better than one person gets the butt.
I think it'd be nice to have both.
One person gets the butt.
But then, of course, one person would have.
But I mean, both in the game and sort of your play experience.
It's in a fortune cookie.
That's a really sad, gross fortune cookie.
I got, if you try hard, good things will come. Oh, I got, keep doing what you're doing, and new events will be revealed. I got,
one person gets the butt.
Which is that fortune.
Right.
I guess that is the butt.
I mean, I guess if that's the butt, it could be worse. If your butt is to get a bad, to get a bad fortune cookie thing.
Your butt?
You've already got it.
A butt is apparently a bad thing that happens to you. Well, if your butt is a fortune cookie, you're doing pretty well.
I'm just saying, I figured getting the butt would be essentially, it's like getting the hi-hat. You're sort of getting the raw end of the deal.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's not.
No one knows what that means.
No one says getting the hi-hat anymore.
No, I'm just
just watch the first 5 minutes of Miller's Crossing and you'll understand.
So that will occur many times.
So, Jake Rodkin, what are you looking forward to at GDC as someone who potentially remembers what day sessions are on, which I don't?
I totally don't remember what day sessions are on. And
Chris Remo, what GDC sessions are you looking forward to?
I was deleted extremely quick. You're looking forward to what?
Getting the butt.
Oh, well, one person's going to get the butt.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I don't know. I actually haven't.
I'm just sort of looking forward to going to GDC.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to go to GDC for sure.
Ride those escalators. They just go up and down.
Is that what you do at GDC?
There's more to GDC than the escalators.
I just think this is a great time.
That's a pretty good slogan. There's more to GDC than the escalators.
I'll suggest that to my employers.
Thanks. Yeah,
I don't think they'll use it. No. Well, maybe they will. Maybe one guy would. I have some things that I'm looking forward to, but I don't specifically remember which days they're on. I'm just going to look.
I'm looking forward to the stuff that I always enjoy generally, which are like the experimental gameplay sessions and like Clint Hawking's thing that's guaranteed to be worthwhile. And I mean, even attending the keynotes always has its own value. And but
keynotes are their own reward.
Keynotes are their own reward. TM. But the stuff that always is the best at GDC are the things that you think might potentially be interesting and then are secretly super awesome. True. I mean, I'm looking forward to being surprised.
Yeah. Good. Well, I mean, when you consider that,
Sparkle Tooth.
Yeah. No, it's true. In fact, I would say some of the ones that are really hyped, sort of once you see those once, you kind of get it.
Lights, camera, action.
But
part 3.
Part 3.
Yeah, part 3. Yeah. But it's true. A lot of times, weird stuff does occur at just like cool stuff does occur at unassuming sessions.
Yes.
Which.
I mean,
it's part of what's
it's a stupid example because now it's sort of a staple for me, but the first time I went to, and God, this is a fucking stupid thing to say on Idle Thumbs, Clint Hawking, the designer of Far Cry 2. I had no expectations going to that guy's first panel because I was like, oh, he's the guy who made the good Splinter Cell game. Yeah, 2006. And then, like, that was by far the highlight of GDC 2006 for me. That panel, like, made me super excited about every possible thing involving games and especially sort of storytelling and sort of player to world emotional response in games and that sort of thing, and I just was crapping left and right. And then he made the amazing Far Cry 2.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what anyone listening thinks about Far Cry 2, Clint Hawking is a really interesting speaker, both because he has really interesting things to say, but also because he's doing a thing that I think is probably really valuable to this industry, which is trying to really define terms and sort of nail down a system for talking about a lot of the stuff that is generally spoken about in very ambiguous terms. I mean, things like immersion and sort of just like the engagement with the game and sort of there are a lot of things that people talk about in games that I think gamers sort of understand and sort of instinctively.
But it's the stuff that people sort of just blather on about and just reinvent over and over again without ever even attempting to quantify it. And I think part of that is because people mistakenly say that if you try to quantify anything like that in games, you're going to ruin it or fuck it up. But it seems to be his proposals always are really healthy and interesting ways to look at that stuff in a sort of way that is actually sort of able to be categorized.
Yeah, and I think it's something that is probably just valuable from a practicality standpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, as much as you don't want to get too clinical about things, it's definitely true that aside from the fairly significant creative part of making games, there is a pretty significant just sort of technical production thing. Obviously, I mean, making a game is a huge technical production, and I think it probably is a valuable thing to have. Just if people start on the same page in terms of at least what they understand a term to be, even if they disagree about kind of its relative importance in the game or how they want to go about implementing it, so forth. I think just sort of understanding what we mean when we say all these different things.
When you say ludonarrative dissonance,
right, is fairly valuable. And Clint Hawking, I think, is actually actively trying to at least address that, if not sort of nail down like ironclad
that's right. He does
rules.
Say that word.
Sorry, what word?
Which word?
Nail down?
The dissonance.
Oh. Perhaps.
Yeah. Well,
he might like that.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd love that.
He might like a thing.
We're all whispering so that nothing will be picked up.
Yes.
Nobody is confident with what they're saying.
Yeah.
If we are recommending, I guess if we are recommending sessions for listeners to attend, also Margaret Robertson is an equally engaging speaker as Clint Hawking. I think she did her first talk last year.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else at this table went to that. But,
I unfortunately missed it, and I regret it.
You went to Patrick Redding's talk.
I did, which I also love. So yes. I mean, that's okay.
But yeah, she has a talk this year, and she's also, she is the former editor of Edge magazine and not a designer, so she approaches her talks, I think, probably more from a player's perspective than a designer, obviously. But she's also, I believe, equally talented as Clint Hawking in expressing potentially abstract concepts in very engaging and accessible ways. And I guess, this is a superficial thing to say, but one of the best presenters generally at GDC, I found.
She's nice.
Oh, yeah. But she has a lecture this week, and she also had one about Spore, strangely.
Oh, she had that today.
That was today, and I missed that. But,
I didn't go to it.
Breaking news, I missed Spore.
I talked to someone who went to that, and apparently it was she basically talked about how Spore is a huge failure as an educational thing.
That's probably true.
Probably is true.
Yeah.
And also, it's from what I gathered, she also just didn't like Spore. Which probably was related to her.
So is that in like a comparison to how SimCity was secretly educational in that kind of like city structure way? Do you know?
What, or like Civ?
Unfortunately, I didn't.
We actually played Civilization in my school computer lab.
Really?
Yeah, when it
that's
first came
awesome.
out.
I played SimCity in my school library.
Like, our whole class went to a lab of PCs and were assigned to play Civilization.
That's amazing.
Fine, you win.
I played that at home and I had to install it from 16 floppies. I'm pretty sure it was actually 16. Jesus. God, that was a good game, though.
Yes. Anyway, Margaret Robertson has
every
a lecture.
Do you know what her talk is on this year?
Yes, it's about story and games and possibly not needing it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. That looked really interesting. Yeah.
Well,
I believe that is an officially recommended Idle Thumbs
it is, in fact.
presentation.
Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like a topic that has been well covered by the gaming press.
But someone who's intelligent might have something.
Oh, okay. Good point. Yes, I will go to that, but, I'm not expecting minds to be blown.
Yeah, fair enough.
But maybe faces will be melted.
Yeah.
Possibly.
There's some sessions.
Or wizards. A wizard?
A wizard will be melted.
Insert sound effect here.
Like a melt wizard.
Yeah, that's what I was.
What do you want to melt him with?
There might be a cool session. This is one that I'm sort of a little suspicious of.
Cool sessions.
A cool session.
Cool tools.
Cool tools. Jake, do you remember that?
Yes, I remember Cool Tools. That
These
may
guys
not be.
really don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not.
Okay, so anyway,
You were just talking.
that
You were just
aside?
talking about tools which are cool, not about cool tools. Cool tools.
yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Double name.
cool tools.
It's cool.
Cool. Okay, so anyway,
YouTube will reveal.
yes. What was I talking about? There's a panel between that features Goichi Suda, aka Suda51, Emil Pagliarulo, and Fumito Ueno. So basically, dudes who made Killer 7 and No More Heroes, Fallout 3, and parts of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. So a crazy collection of dudes.
So yeah, if
with
you want
very
your face
different
to be
games.
crushed by the ridiculous boot
Right.
of weird shit.
Yes.
My only concern is that often panels are not good. Like frequently, I mean, it's true though. I mean,
Yeah, that panel could make you excited because you see those three people with your eyes at the same time.
Right.
And that might be the only actual value that comes out of it.
Exactly.
And maybe like a joke that you laugh at because you like those people.
right.
I'm pretty sure that panel conflicts with the Margaret Robertson thing.
No, it conflicts with Clint Hawking.
Oh, was it? I knew
Yes.
it was one thing
Oh,
that we
yeesh.
just talked about.
Sorry, dudes.
Yeah, sorry guys.
So see both those.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Whoa! What the fuck was that?
Or a different time.
Chris's cyborg personality. We'll see both
a
lectures.
secret 80s bad horror movie trailer told you to see them at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah. Don't I guess choose one. That's sort of the killer's.
It's like branching paths.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of the Murderer's Row time slot. There's actually a ton of stuff. There's one about the lighting in Mirror's Edge, which I think is really awesome because that game was fucking gorgeous. In large part due to the lighting. There's even some other things I think at that time slot that are really interesting. So that's unfortunate. Actually, in addition, there's an article on design in lighting at the same time. So basically,
An article?
An article
I'm
you
sorry,
can
a
read.
session.
An
Yeah.
article will be
Well,
produced
there
by a
might be an
printing press.
article, yeah.
Watch.
Yeah.
Watch games journalism at work.
But basically, every lighting artist is sad now
Oh.
that those two sessions overlap. Like, of all the fucking things, I mean, I'm sure GDC is not overflowing with amazing articles about lighting. And
Articles.
the two fascinating ones. Why do I keep saying that?
I don't know.
love articles. Amazing sessions about lighting, and those two are right on top of each other, which, I don't know, that's too bad, I guess.
So what you're saying is anyone else's lighting session is probably shit.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure GDC is not overflowing with good stuff. These two good ones.
No, with
Well, I'm
lighting.
saying
You hate everyone else's panels?
I'm
Is that
saying
what
if
you're
we're on
saying?
the same. Jesus.
Think services employees?
Yes, I'm sure there are good lighting things, but there probably are not.
But those are two fairly
But
desirable
these are two
sounding
amazing
ones.
ones,
Yeah.
particularly amazing ones that are at the same time. I don't know. It just seems too bad.
Yes.
But whatever. Either one would be good. So, if you're a lighting guy, go to one of them. Yeah. I don't know. Trying to think if there are any other cool sessions. You guys remember any others?
The GDC Microtalks.
Oh, yeah. That's a weird thing.
Maybe
Yeah.
good or horrible.
Yeah,
I'm
or
sure
maybe
some of
both.
them are good,
I
yeah.
mean, it'll
I
probably
I
be
read
good
the.
and horrible.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. The concept of the GDC Microtalks is that you have 10 speakers who talk for 10.
It was like
I guess 10, it must be less than 10 minutes.
it was 5 minutes and 10 seconds or something like
Yeah, and I read that sounded okay because the speakers are indeed interesting for the most part. But I read the session description of that today, and basically, the fun of that session is going to be that each speaker's slides will advance by 16 seconds, regardless of whether they're done talking or not. So
That's pretty good, actually. They should do that for all sessions.
if you want to
16 seconds per slide, no matter what.
So, well, I mean, you could just duplicate slides, I guess.
if you want your speakers
Already
to be
game in the system.
Have them slowly animate or something.
Right.
if you want your speakers to be frustrated and not be able to deliver a good lecture, GDC Microtalks. I don't know if they.
Well, they will have designed their talks about
that
it.
allows them to
I mean, with
practice
that
in an
I suppose-
incredibly specific way, though.
Yes, I don't know. It doesn't. I guess it sounds interesting, but possibly not the most conducive format to hearing interesting
Right.
ideas expressed. If they're racing to
I mean, they've done things similar to this before. I think they've done strings of 10-minute sessions in the past, and
20-minute sessions.
Well, they do that anyway. But I mean, they're not back to back. Like I've been in rooms in GDC before where people have just
I just think they did. They did a couple of 20-minute sessions back to back last year.
okay. I mean, I've seen
Well,
many.
I
when I was
think
there
they
before,
did.
Anyway,
10
needless to
minutes.
say, I've seen
I think there was
handfuls
some-
of short talks at GDC before, and they're actually fairly enjoyable.
Yes,
Yeah, I saw some 2 years ago. There was in the Indie Game Summit. I think Geneva Chen and the guy who did Everyday Shooter.
Jonathan Mack.
Jonathan Mack, yeah, and a couple of other guys. I can't remember everyone who was there. They all did a series of small presentations that were easy to compare at that time, I guess.
Were they good?
Yes and no, and
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's what you
it's
expect
variable,
from a
yeah.
series of talks. Yeah, so that's fine.
Yes.
Some were worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as they weren't sort of just all bad because of the format, but yeah.
No, the format didn't affect the quality generally.
In your face, Duncan.
I guess my point.
Duncan just got fucking owned.
Oh,
Slam
Duncan. I guess my point. I don't remember what my point is anymore. I've been disoriented by slams.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess that format seems more geared to having the sessions be entertaining, perhaps in an unintentional way, with people getting cut off by timers.
Well, they've got the novelty vaudeville hooks.
Perhaps they do.
And a slide whistle at the ready.
And even as, I mean, I don't make games or, work in publishing or anything, so I'm not going to GDC.
You're a fucking blogger.
Yes. Chris distracted me with a thing.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, even...
You don't work at GDC or...
No, I mean,
or something?
So you would...
Chris was paying attention.
I know, I already feel slightly uncomfortable attending the Game Developers Conference, and more so when they try to cater to people like me with sessions that are, explicitly more entertaining than informative.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Although I think probably I mean, I don't know. I think there are probably a lot of game developers who also go to that thing.
I think the
Well, it's nice
entertaining
to have a
sessions are.
mix.
I think the entertaining sessions are worthwhile. I mean,
Sure.
if you
Yeah.
the entertaining sessions,
yeah.
if you only go to those, then you're probably wasting your life.
Right.
But I enjoy the sort of weird, just I guess like shared experience and sort of
You're a
enjoyment.
bona fide game developer.
I'm a bona fide game developer, but I don't know. I don't go to all of them, but it's nice to go to some of them because just
Things like the game
it's the sort of content that you're only ever going to see at a game developers conference.
Right. No, that's true.
Whether it's I mean,
I don't know if it's intentional, but things like the game design challenge, when I was there, was hilarious and insane.
I mean, they're
definitely
supposed to
intended to be.
yeah, I know. I'm saying so. That's like
But it's
another
just
one
there's
that's entertaining.
there's never
but
another
still
venue
also
where you're
great.
going to see like the creator of SimCity face off against the creator of Tetris to design a
And
game.
God of War.
Yeah, and
everything else,
or whatever. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they're ridiculously indulgent, but I will happily indulge occasionally.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I got owned again.
You
You don't even know. Fucking bloggers.
Ugh. Problem with game journalism.
problem with video game journalism.
too snappy.
It's so snappy.
SnappyGamer.com.
I don't think it is .com. Maybe it is.
.ws for website.
.wordpress.com.
.ws. He sublets somebody else's blogspot account on WordPress.
Go to snappygamer.ws.wordpress.museum. Do we have any reader mail in this for this conf grenade?
We'd have to obtain some.
Yeah.
I mean, I can.
We can take a break.
We could
while
be
Chris
done.
organizes.
We could say games and call it quits.
Oh, games.
Games?
I didn't mean to call it quits. I just
You
said
just
games.
did. Say games to quit.
I shan't.
Say games to quit.
Never.
All right, here's one.
You gonna hang around or you gonna puss out?
Here,
Chris
I
has a reader
I
mail.
already had one loaded on my phone that it doesn't need to download.
Oh.
So,
Oh, all right.
uh,
How convenient.
yeah. Jason Brissett writes, also known
Right?
as
Idle Thumbs is so cool.
Sevogagre, I don't know. Sorry for being dumb. Love the podcast. It's made into my top rotation. Okay, cool. I thought you guys brought up an interesting point about Blizzard's early Diablo 3 announcement and how it can be a disservice to fans. Do I even mention Duke Nukem Forever here? Oops, too late. It bothers me nowadays that you can know just about everything about a game before it's been released, and it leads to fatigue before you've even played it. I felt, as a personal example, I felt really good about the amount of time between Street Fighter 4's announcement and its release. From the time it was officially announced in EGM to the point I was playing it on my TV at home, a bit over a year had passed. That's a turnaround I can live with. Maybe change you can believe in. Personally, I feel like once we're stretching into the 2+ year period of time, it just gets tiring to hear about the average game. In today's crowded marketplace, it seems like there's a set amount of time when you can really make an impact advertising your product. I imagine Blizzard and Nintendo are basically immune to this because of their track record. What do you guys think is a good estimate of time between a game's announcement and when it's on store shelves? I realize this really depends on size and budget, so let's just assume a higher profile release. You guys should also have more Puffins guest star in your show. Thanks, Jason Brissett.
Well,
I agree about the
The
Puffins.
Godfather of video games was just announced for 7 years later.
That's true.
So that's
2016.
that one might
exclusively
have been
for
a little
Wii.
early.
Maybe.
I personally think for a lot of titles, a year is too long. Even
Yeah, I'd say
think so.
like I was really excited. Like Chris, you and I were talking about this earlier when Half-Life 2 was first announced, and people thought that it was like 3 to 6 months away until Valve sort of unlocked a secret year and then
Right.
blamed it on source code being stolen.
Yeah.
But when those first Half-Life 2 ads were showing up in magazines with the crowbar and the shadow forming a 2, and then it was demoed at E3, and they were, that was. I was so happy that it was like Half-Life 2, and I'll play it like in 6 months. Holy shit!
Yeah.
And then by the time it actually came out, because it had been a year and a half, felt really overexposed to Half-Life 2, and like I'd just seen everything, and that's under 2 years. 2 years is a long time. I don't think you hear about most films. Like you might hear a film is being filmed, but you don't see.
You're not gonna get
you don't see a million stills, a
Yeah.
million clips, 3,000 interviews saying the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Like to the point that when you see a scene in a movie, it's been beaten into your brain.
Yeah.
Like.
No, absolutely.
I'm sorry to compare a game to a movie, but in terms of marketing, they're pretty damn similar.
Yeah.
It often gets extended as well for like living in the UK because
because you get all the American previews and then you get the UK previews of the same stuff.
On more than one occasion, there's been a huge build-up, mass loads of coverage, and then the game has come out in America. And then everyone's like, hey, this is amazing, this is amazing. Then many months later, there's still more coverage. It comes out in the UK, and I'm just like, I can't be bothered anymore.
Don't you love it that in the UK you have to wait until the game is localized into French, German, and Italian before you get the English language release? Do you love that as well?
I love it.
And welcome
to
a shit town.
Thanks.
starring English-speaking lands that are not in where I live.
But
those guys.
Well put.
That's happened quite a lot recently. I mean, like on the Wii, the delays on that are enormous.
Does it piss you off that they don't change like color to sneak a U into it at least? Like they can at least give you the service.
I really don't care.
If they're gonna take the fucking time, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, the best time that it's taken time to.
The best
delay
time
has been for Eco, I think. When that was released in Europe, they added content. Like a whole extra difficulty level and tweak puzzles, and it was
semi-co-op mode.
The co-op mode that was really actually quite good. I played through that with my uncle.
Okay, wait, they had a co-op in Ico?
Yeah, in the UK, in the European version,
it's unlockable.
Yeah,
That's
you
amazing.
complete it once, and then you can play it through again, and the other person can play as Yorda, but she's really kind of clumsy.
Controllable Yorda.
She's very clumsy, and
no, it's really interesting though.
You can't do a lot of stuff. You have to wait for the other guy to.
So that sounds really good.
No, it is. It's really good in the way that the same way that when you play Eco normally, the constraints are that she's kind of awkward to pull along.
But do you form that emotional bond through hand-holding?
I did with my uncle.
Oh, man.
I'm glad.
So this game encourages weird grossness.
No, it was pleasing because I...
Did he start making these sort of Yorda sounds?
I shouted across the couch to him. Hey!
Yeah.
Enfin!
Yeah, what was I going to say? Wasn't there some game, I think it was Metal Gear Solid 3 maybe, that featured like European extreme difficulty mode?
Yeah.
That was an amazing thing to include and to name.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
European extreme.
Yeah.
Copyright Goldfish.
No, because it's got the E from European, so they just
shut up.
it to... Oh, okay.
Oh, jeez.
Jeepers. You're right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
All
right, so we agree with the listener.
Yes, I would also just add that apparently trilogies are now advanced far in advance.
They're advanced in advance?
They're announced far in advance,
No, it's true,
such as Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, that
and
really
Mass Effect.
Fable 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Yeah.
6, possibly?
6? Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. No, I think
7?
it is kind of... It is pretty preposterous now that it's sort of... If you have a game, even before your first game is released, if
AdventTrilogy.com.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It's like,
Advent, brilliant.
yeah. I mean, it's like if sort of pre-release sales and so forth show that your game is probably going to be relatively successful, it's just like, yeah, I think we're going to do a trilogy probably. We're just going to fucking...
We've got a whole story planned out around the city.
Fuck you. Shut the fuck up. Jesus, I hate that so much.
Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about this character, Faith.
Yeah, right.
We can explore that in the subsequent games and a comic book.
If someone mugged me and threatened to stab me in the neck unless I explained to them what happened in Mirror's Edge, I would be unable to...
You would be dead now?
I would be dead. I would be bleeding in a ditch with my neck everywhere.
That's because you haven't had the full story from the trilogy so that you understand what happened.
That's a good point.
I could tell you the first third.
Yeah, anyway, so more reader mail here.
Oh,
so we
good.
agree with that guy. That's ridiculous.
More reader mail?
Yeah. For some reason, my phone, like, this doesn't usually happen. My phone actually kept all the stuff downloaded, even in airplane mode.
It's a GDC miracle.
It is. All right, so this guy...
Merry Christmas.
I I'm sorry.
This guy writes,
Merry conference.
Merry conference is what I was going to say.
I've been an out-of-touch listener for a while. At first, I began listening to your cast when you guys were at 8 episodes in. Then I caught up in a few days while listening to the cast on the bus. Now I'm about 7 episodes behind because I managed to lose my iPod wire for a while.
So how about that crazy Twilight Princess guy, huh?
I heard he got Cheetos on his hand.
Oh.
But anyway, that might explain why this message might be massively outdated, but I'll just go ahead anyway. I remember a while ago you guys talking about stories where a game has influenced real life and vice versa, the countless Katamari stories. But recently I found your podcast screwing with my life. While I was brushing my teeth and listening to Idle Thumbs, there were police sirens blaring near my street. At that point, this guy's from the UK. I expected to hear an American voice saying, "We're getting arrested," or something along those lines. However, I'm glad he points out we make the same joke every time. However, this did not come, and I realized it's because I'd heard that happen so many times in Idle Thumbs that I expected to hear it in real life.
You didn't notice that it was the UK sirens that time, though?
Oh, that's a good
A
point.
slightly more like rhythmic and boisterous siren,
Right,
versus
there.
our sort of crying man.
Can you make a siren sound, Lawrence?
Jake on sirens.
I think I hear American sirens too much in TV to actually distinguish in my mind between...
This guy hears them too much in podcasts.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, we're being arrested. Just in case you happen to be hearing sirens right now in real life.
Yeah. So maybe it's a bit sad, but unfortunately it's true. He writes, "Much love from a silly Englishman called Dost of the forums."
Called Lawrence Bishop.
I could come up with another stupid name like a lot of other readers, listeners do. P.S. Love from silly name McGee.
Thanks, silly name.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hey, wow, cool. I didn't notice this the first time it came in. Brendon Chung, who created
Hey, Gravity Boneman.
Yeah.
Gravity Boneman.
He writes, "I'm Brendon Chung, the maker of Gravity Bone. Sorry, my volume thing blocked this out. I was listening to the Idle Thumbs podcast and fell out of my chair just a little when I heard you all mention the game.
Just a little.
Just a little.
I've been listening to the podcast for a while
Don't get
and never
carried
expected
away.
to hear one of my games being discussed. Love the show. Thanks for the mention, Brendan."
Oh,
Awesome. Well, that's rad.
yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Well done, us. And anyone else who hasn't played Gravity Bone, go do it because it's fucking hilarious and awesome.
I played it.
What did you think?
It was cool.
Yeah.
Assessed, cool.
I have nothing more to say on the subject.
Oh, cool. All right.
Cool. Things are cool.
games.
Let's see. All right.
Video. Cool.
Liz Beatham writes, "Hello, Idle Thumbs. You're my favorite pod that is cast, and I'm especially enjoying the countdown to tears." Oh, man. Well, that's too bad. Cause
Yeah, thanks
a
Neil Young for
crossover.
fucking that up.
Yeah,
Jeez.
exactly.
We're on to conf grenades now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've extended the countdown to Godfather.
Okay.
Oh, man. This is actually a tears email. Jeez, we forgot to read these. We should do a special cast this week or this weekend or something.
Yeah, we
where
can do a lament for tears later.
Yeah, we should. Maybe we should hang on to this until then.
Okay.
Cool. Well, why am I adjusting this piece of paper loudly during this podcast?
Because you want it to be ruined. All right.
I
Well,
might have ruined it.
we should probably take off. This is running a little long.
Yeah,
for
thanks
a
for
cast,
listening to
but
our conf grenade.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get some more updates together this week, but we probably shouldn't promise anything, but
Yeah.
maybe we will. So.
We'll try our best. We'll
Yeah.
believe in ourselves, and hopefully
Maybe we
we'll,
can get an
we'll-
Ashby in.
Maybe we can get an Ashby.
Oh, yeah. An Alex Ashby.
Yeah. So hopefully we will crap gold later this week.
Man, that sounds really terrible.
Like
Sometimes you
like
get
a
the
nugget.
butt. I mean,
Sometimes you get the butt.
and a gold nugget will come out.
I know you're not going to write one, but sometimes you get the butt. Sounds like it could be a lyric in another Randy Newman tune.
I have no instruments in this hotel, so
I know.
yeah. Sorry.
You have like a mouth.
I have a mouth. It's true. I do have that. Okay. Anyway, see you guys
Goodbye.
later sometime.
Ciao.
Also, bye from Marek.
Marek Bronstring. There is that what you're looking for?
I hate you.
And this Marek Bronstring.
Video game.
Marek Bronstring.
It's like the shitty Batman voice.
Where are the other drugs?
I'm Bronstring. Marek Bronstring.
Am I clown to you?
That's clown to you.
Am I clown to
The name's
you?
Clown.
Wow.
The name is Bronstring. Marek Bronstring. It's clown to you.